don't know if you can see that, but we're not getting full throttle. We're getting like 3/4 throttle, maybe a little less. Welcome back, everybody. Not all sunshine and roses this time around. I was making some changes to the car again. I think I stated in the last video that I was going to maybe put a carburetor spacer on it to, I was thinking maybe it needed more plenum volume because of the higher RPM and this little Victor W2 intake doesn't seem to have a lot of plenum volume for the RPM and the amount of flow that the cylinder heads will move. So I thought a 2-inch carb spacer would help with the torque, and so I'll flip the camera around. I put a plastic 2-inch HVH Super Sucker carb spacer on it. So, in hopes that'll give it a little bit more plenum volume, maybe make a little bit more power. And in doing so, I thought, I've never checked to see if you get full throttle pushing the accelerator pedal to the floor. And come to find out that it wasn't full throttle. It was about 3/4 throttle, or maybe a little less. So those passes we made the other day were at 3/4 throttle or less. So that's unfortunate, but we made our baseline pulls with baseline runs with throttle stop. So as you can tell, I got the throttle cable loose now, and I'm going to pull the pedal out of the car and see what I can do to remedy that situation. Also, I put a new trans brake button, mounted it to the steering wheel, so it's the other brake button is right there under the tack, but with this one here I can keep both hands on the steering wheel and still manipulate the trans brake button. So I put it on there, and I went to test drive it, and the car wouldn't come off of the 2-step. So it was, normally it's on the 2-step on the low side with the trans brake button engaged, and it was not engaged and still wouldn't let the car rev over 3,500 RPM because it had a 3,500 chip in it. So I finally figured out, I disconnected the trans brake button with no change, even though the wire to the 2-step terminal on the 7AL2 box goes through the brake button, so it only sees 12 volts when you press the trans brake button. For some reason, the 7AL2 box is, if it's got a chip in it on the low side, on the 2-step side, it will not rev over whatever the chip is, regardless if the trans brake is hooked up I even pulled the two-step wire clean off the box, and it's still doing it. So I think the 7AL2 box is there's an internal issue with the box now. You pull the chip out and it'll willingly rev to whatever you want it to, or at least the high side, the upper RPM chip, it'll rev to there. So yeah, that's unfortunate, but right now I'm going to finish taking that nut off right there and try to get the pedal out of this thing. These Moparts got this, I don't know, metal ferrule or whatever, that slides back to there. So whatever this distance is from here to here is all of the throttle you have. And if you watch this carburetor sweep, it's much further than that to get full throttle. So yeah, I'm gonna have to I'm gonna pull the pedal out, and I'm gonna cut this off. It's about useless anyway. I'll leave a little bit down here, but other than that, I don't see the point of having it. So yeah, we're gonna trim that off there, and then probably move our cable to this hole closer to the shaft. It should open the carburetor more with less input from the throttle cable. So we're gonna try that, see what happens. Anyway, we'll be back after I get this pedal out of here. So last time I left you guys, I was gonna cut this metal tube here off of the throttle cable, and then I trimmed that plastic portion of the tube back a little bit, and I moved where the throttle cable attaches from right here to that hole down to this hole, which doesn't take as much stroke on the pedal to get full throttle. So I put a black mark right there on the cable, and I opened the throttle all the way, put a black mark on that cable, and went in and pushed the accelerator pedal from in the car, looking through the gap between the bottom of the hood out here, and I could see that that black mark went right up to that tube. So it's getting all the beans now. Still have an issue with the MSD box. The two-step wants to stay on all the time, regardless of whether the trans brake button is pushed, which is how it's wired up, is to see 12 volts when the trans brake solenoid sees 12 volts. But for some reason the two-step is staying on all the time. Disconnected the wires from it. Doesn't matter if it's got a chip in it. It's whatever the chip is what it'll rev to, and that is it. It won't rev any higher than that. So if any of you have experienced anything with those MSD 7AL2 boxes doing that. Leave it in the comments if you figured out what it was, or if you had to send the box back into MSD for repairs or what. The box still works. The trans brake still works. So yeah, it's just the two-step side of the box. The two-step side of the box is just always on. So thank God we weren't gonna take it down to Edgewater, or we changed our mind about taking it to Edgewater Friday or yesterday. We would have got down there and the box would have took a dump. No two-step, which I guess I could foot brake it and just to see what it would do foot braking, since our 744 pass was only part throttle. Can't even really say that we got a baseline on it, because now we don't get in full throttle. We don't know what it'll do. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, like I said, if you've had any issues or with a MSD 7AL2 box with the two-step staying on, leave it in the comments what you did to fix it, or what the issue was, or if you had to send it back into MSD. And then I guess I'll be looking to send this one in, or if somebody has a fix for it or something, maybe I can fix it myself. I don't know, but I think we're gonna take it out for a little cruise today. Maybe it's only about 1 o'clock here in Ohio and it's pretty warm today, so yeah, we might take it out for a cruise. So we'll get back with you here shortly.